Welcome to the fifth and final part of turning this into this. If you want to start back at part 1, click here, or find the link in the description. I left the best and most difficult piece for last, the key cover. This single piece of the piano is to date the most challenging piece I've ever done. It's also the project I'm most proud of. This thing. This is the key cover, which is a hinged deal. I've got it half done. I still have to do like these edges and this top bit. Oh, and this under here too, I guess. The electric sander won't fit in a lot of the spaces on the key cover, so I'm using a heat gun and a metal putty knife to scrape it off. It's a trick, as this devil paint likes to light on fire if I leave the heat on 1 second too long. The reason this piece is extra challenging is because I want to save the name on the front. It's indented into the wood with gold flake. My first idea is to make a rubbing of the name, cut out the individual pieces on the paper, then cut out painter's tape to the correct shape and fit it in the holes with tape. Is it tedious? Yes. Is it working? Nope. Not even a little. It's just too small to be accurate. While I'm thinking over my plan of action, I finished cleaning off the outside of the key cover. Besides the face panel, this is the part of the piano that is the most noticeable, so both the inside and outside need to be as close to perfect as I can get it. Every piano restoration video I've seen, people just paint right over those letters, and I just can't bring myself to do it. After much hemming and hawing, and what is probably a terrible idea, I am gonna try and freehand it. I'm gonna try and freehand paint it. I went to the art store and got like some super fine brushes. It might be the worst idea I've ever had. I cannot sand off this part of the key cover. I can't risk sanding down too far or damaging the letters. I cannot sand everything but the area around the letters because it would always be higher than the wood around it, and paint can't cover that. So the best that I can do is scuff up the lacquer as much as I can and hope the paint sticks to it. Using my ultra-fine brushes, I'm painting around all of the gold letters. Then using a slightly larger brush, I paint around the letters and the rest of it. I ended up getting 2 wet coats on this piece last night. It's very streaky looking. Honestly, I'm not really sure what the best thing to do is. You can see how much more dramatic the gold looks against the black. I'm super in love with it. I got as close as I could. Like, I couldn't get another coat on there yet. Since I'm painting everything else in the basement and I'm still not 100% sure about what I'm doing with that part, I figured there was no reason not to paint the rest of the key cover. I opted not to take it apart for fear I would never get it back together, so I tape over the hinge as best I can on both sides and give it another good sand. Then she got her first coat of paint along with the face panel and the plywood for the face panel. I have set up the key cover on the table. Part of where the paint was alligatored by the hinge, I thought I could just sand it down and paint over it and it would be fine, and that is not true. It actually went into the wood. Merp. Ugh. I thought initially I could glue that little sliver back down, but no. I'm gonna have to try wood filler on that, which is gonna be a bizatch. Ass. I need to fill the chunk that broke off alongside the hinge while leaving the hinge clear so that bending it doesn't crack the wood putty. So I lay down a thick coat of putty, and then the next day, sand it down and work with an X-Acto knife to get the new part flush with the original wood on either side of it. When it feels flush, I re-tape the hinge again and let it sit for 1 more night to really make sure it's dry before painting. Over the next few days, I get 3 more layers of paint on it, then let it cure for a week. Good morning, it is January 3rd, and holy crap. I got the whole table set up. I got all my work lights charged. I've got a movie queued up that I'm mostly just going to be listening to, and we're just going to hunker down and power through this guy. While the paint dried streaky on this part, it did dry. Since it's also cured, my hope is that if I continue forward, the new layers of paint will stick to the old original layer and the streaks will disappear. I did the exact same thing I did for the original 2 coats, starting with my tiny brushes around the letters, then a larger brush to cover the whole thing, but with one small twist. What I was able to do was do long brush strokes actually over this, and then by wrapping paper towel over the tip of a pencil, I was able to re-wet the letters and then clean them out.
I never thought of that.
Where I had to do the tiny brush strokes, when the light hits it, it looks kind of chewed on a little bit. I am going to try and do 1 more coat, doing long strokes with that same technique, and then I'm gonna have to give that a couple hours to dry, and then I'm gonna come back and do the gold lettering. Yeah, I'm at a point where I could just destroy this at any time. So fortunately, I no longer have to do tiny brush strokes around the letters. Unfortunately, I have upgraded to wrapping bits of damp paper towel around the tip of a sharpened pencil and using that to clean black paint out of the gold letters. For the gold in the letters, I tested about 5 different paints and settled on this gold paint pen, which happened to be the perfect shade. I'm depressing the tip of the pen onto a piece of tin foil and then using my ultra-fine brushes to hand paint it into the letters. The letters I finished yesterday and they look great, but I did end up having to outline them in black paint again, which meant that this part right underneath got all stupid again. So I do have to paint over that part somehow. I know I can still clean out the letters with the paper towel. I just don't want to have to do that. This whole process took 5 hours yesterday. 5 hours. So I don't really want to do it twice. If I don't have to. I decided to touch up the paint around the letters with my tiny brushes instead of repainting the entire piece. Then I used my special Nylox brush to dry brush the paint out so it wouldn't pool. That did mean I had to clean out the letters again, but honestly it was unavoidable to get a clean, uninterrupted surface. And there it is. As you can see, it really cleaned up. I mean, it's never gonna look perfect because I had to put so much like little brush strokes in there, but it's way better than it was. If I just get the light right, you can just kind of see those little brush strokes in there. Maybe you can't, maybe I'm just a freak. I can see them. You can see like a brush stroke that starts right here. But honestly, if you didn't know that that's what it was, it just looks like wood grain, and I would rather have that than all of this nonsense. This is perfect. It's perfect! Don't get too excited. No, it's not. That little patch I just did, it's drying darker than the rest of the flippin' panel.
Oh my God.
My only option is to paint the entire thing one more time and then clean the letters out again, which will be the third time that I'm cleaning out the letters. That's my only option to get rid of that little thing right there. I'm trying to keep the swearing to a minimum because I'm pretty sure my dad's gonna watch this. So here we go for round 3. Seems fitting. Everyone else got 3 coats, so why not this piece? So there it is. We've got nice long brush strokes. Got rid of most of that chewy looking bit underneath. The letters are cleaned out. It doesn't look like it's painted, it looks like it's pressed into the wood. I printed this off in case while I was cleaning stuff off I didn't want to miss any of the tiny little lines, so I had a reference. It's perfect. I know I said it was perfect before and it was not because there was a flaw. You can see now there's no dark spot, there's nothing uneven. GD it, that looks GG professional. I was terrified the entire time, my anxiety's through the roof, but it turned out pretty damn good. Later that evening, after it had dried for about 6 hours, I removed the majority of the painter's tape. For the next 2 days, the cleanup continues. At the factory, they painted these pieces before they connected them, so any lacquer I can still see on either side of the hinge I'm touching up with black paint. I'm also using my X-Acto knife to remove any painter's tape that got stuck in the hinge and scrape off black paint that dried on the hinge. The key cover touch-ups are done. We're about to put the piano back together, kids! Dear, I have a lot of feelings.
It's a lot to expect of a soul who is sinking. When the weight of the world pushes down on your hands, breaking ground with a saint that you don't understand. It's a lot for your tears.
And here we are.
Here's our little layer in. Key cover closes without scratching. Very happy about that. The lock works. And here is the finished piano.
Huzzah! Now that is one sexy piano.
Thank you.
Damn.
I'm gonna put it back where it is so we can see it with like the sconces and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say,
The Wisconsins?
the lid turned out just beautifully. I mean, that thing's
Yes,
just shining. And now I can get the humidifier going again. And a month from now I can have the piano tech come back.
Gorgeous.
Yes, it is. So there it is, folks. There's my gothy piano.
Bravo. Magnificent job.
Thank you.
That is really, really gorgeous.
Thank you. It really is.
Any last words?
I might need to sit with this for a second before I have last words.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I just sweated up a storm, like putting that together. Oh my god, my anxiety's so high right now.
She's beautiful.
Thank you.
Whiskey.
It's been a few hours and I've had a few cocktails. This is my piano. Working on it reminded me of when I was in college working on stage crew. I was the go-to person for painting. There's a calmness to that, and I did appreciate that part of this project, the quietness that would come when I was really focused, when I was really involved and enveloped, which I really appreciated. I'm beyond grateful that I'm done. So thank you for sticking with me through this process. Her name is Narnia, and I love her, and we're gonna make a lot of beautiful music together, and the end.
Subscribe.